This week's best MMA bets, we're talking UFC 291. It's Poirier versus Gaethje 2. I'm going to give you guys my lock of the week. We'll talk my most confident picks, favorite underdogs, props / value bets, and then finish it out with the parlays. So make sure you guys smash that like button, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Last week, we came through with the lock. Nathaniel Wood got it done in a pretty back and forth fight with Andre Fili that at times had me sweating and nervous, but ultimately he still was able to get the decision win, and I was very happy to see the lock cash. I do want to jump right into this week's lock of the week. Alex Poatan Pereira to win and become the #1 contender in the light heavyweight division. I think he's taken Jan Blachowicz out. I do believe he's going to knock him out. I've said it all week long. Now, as far as the betting odds, Alex Pereira is an underdog here at +100. I think that he's going to come through as a dog. Ultimately, I believe he's going to land that knockout punch, the left hook. Blachowicz is a dangerous guy, former champion of the world, but I think Pereira at 205 right now is the real boogeyman. I feel like he's going to look better coming up to 205 than he's ever looked cutting a shitload of weight, getting down to 185. And, you know, even though he lost last time to Israel Adesanya and got knocked out, up until the knockout, he looked like he was beating Izzy more dominantly than the first time. So there are things to like, even in that loss, where he was caught by a beautiful counterstrike. Blachowicz does not have the same capabilities with the hands as Israel Adesanya. Yeah, I think Jan is going to probably try and get this fight to the floor, and I think many, including Jan, are going to be impressed and shocked by the grappling resistance on the Pereira side. So I think he's getting a knockout. It's +155. I think this is the lock this week. I like Pereira's chances of becoming the #1 contender against a dangerous Jan Blachowicz, former champion. Glover's coach, right? Glover's the guy, and he's the mentor for Alex Pereira. And I take that as a positive attribute too into this fight. I've talked about this fight multiple times throughout the week on the channel. So if you're looking for, the prediction for it and breakdown, I'll drop it in the description so you can really hear my in-depth analysis on this fight. I'm going Pereira, underdog lock this week, riding with it, +100. Give me Poatan. Now, I do want to talk about some of my most confident picks on the card. They're going to be the favorites. I have the favorite underdog section as a separate. Let's first bring up Matthew Semelsberger. He is a very dangerous and live favorite to win here. I think that he's going to beat Uros Medic, and I'm really confident that he beats him here. He's a high confidence pick. I'll say it. He's a high confidence pick. -200 from Matthew Semelsberger, and then on the opposite side, Uros Medic is a +170 underdog. Semelsberger is naturally larger, has the reach advantage in this fight. Medic coming up from 155 recently, had a hand surgery, I believe on his left hand, and now taking on a guy who I think shines with the physicality advantage, being Matthew Semelsberger. I'm going Semelsberger to win, and I also think that he is going to get a KO/TKO, +150 for the knockout for Semelsberger. Now, if you are looking at maybe trying to round prop it, when do I see Semelsberger finishing it? I do think second or third round. So Semelsberger, second round knockout, +625. Semelsberger, third round knockout, +1100. Either way, Semelsberger with confidence here against Uros Medic. And I'm pretty excited to see these two clash. I think Medic is a talented striker, but ultimately he's not a welterweight, and I think he's getting broken in this fight. There seemed to be a wilt in him against Jalen Turner in a hard fight, and Turner's a large guy. Semelsberger, now up a weight class, big dude, dangerous guy, and I think he's getting the finish. The next, as far as the most confident picks, this one's going to be sad to say because I love, some T-Ferg, but, bro, Bobby Green, -400. Yes, it's an ugly line for Bobby Green, but the way Tony Ferguson looked last time against Nate Diaz was slower than I've ever seen before, and honestly, I think he's past his best years, and now he's fighting somebody in Bobby Green who I think has a clear-cut striking speed advantage. He's the better boxer of the two, and I think the takedown defense holds up against a 39-year-old Tony Ferguson. Some things I don't like with T-Ferg that I sat through the media interview and heard, right? I said, you know what? I want to watch what Tony Ferguson has to say. And, he's dialed into getting his degree, going to school at Harvard, which is pretty wild, Tony Ferguson, a Harvard man. But at the end of the day, he's putting a lot of time in, I think, to other things, talking about buying businesses and, wanting to get his doctorates. It's not purely on the goal of just cage fighting, which ultimately he's trying to be financially successful. And he talked about being a good influence on, his kids, which I admire, I respect it. Ultimately, though, this is cage fighting, and the guy most dialed in to this one thing normally shines. Now, take into consideration Tony Ferguson is on a 5-fight losing streak, and he has looked considerably worse pretty much every time. I think Bobby Green beats him by a clean, unanimous decision. I still respect the durability of Tony Ferguson, but he's not going to win the fight against Bobby Green here. Decision win for Green is plus 135 with the over 2.5 at minus 140. I'll say this with Tony Ferguson, he talked about at the end of the interview, you know what he says with the mic drop after? 5 fights, then a title fight. So 5 wins in a row, then a title fight. That's his goal right now at 39 years of age. I don't believe it. I don't think that's going to come to fruition, man. And I think he's going to take an L against Bobby Green, who's a bit younger than him and just seems to be more in his relative prime. I mean, dig back a couple years ago, people will say, oh, yeah, Ferguson's only fought straight killers. Remember the Fiziev versus Bobby Green fight, how close that was? And then you think about the striking of Tony Ferguson lately. I think that Bobby Green's going to be touching him up, man. I think on the feet, it's a total mismatch. And Ferguson, at this point, I don't think has the wrestling capabilities to take down a Green and specifically to not hold down a Bobby Green. It'll be interesting to see if it goes long. I'll tell you, the decision and the over 2.5, even though official predictions call for it, I would be nervous about, a nearly 40-year-old T-Ferg getting touched up by some heavy shots by Bobby Green and maybe the chin not being what it used to. So just a little yellow flag for some of you out there. But Bobby Green for the win. It is a confident pick. The next one is going to be Ismael Bonfim to beat Trevin Giles. Bonfim is minus 310 as the favorite. And honestly, it should be closer, right? Because he's only making his sophomore UFC appearance. But I think Bonfim is clear to beat a Trevin Giles. Better in the striking department, more vicious, and has dangerous submissions. Plus 150 submission win for Bonfim, something I had to bring up. I do think he is live for a submission. He's known for the power in his hands. But ultimately, I think you're going to see the side of Giles struggle on the feet and maybe panic wrestle a bit and be shocked at the grappling skill set of Bonfim. Now, if you're Trevin Giles, though, Bonfim's got some dangerous ground skills. So I think Bonfim's better with the striking. He seems to be the more dangerous grappler on the mat. I just don't think Giles has any way to win besides maybe a competitive split decision. I don't think he has the power to hurt Bonfim. I don't think he has the grappling skills to stop him if Bonfim is looking to grapple. And I definitely don't think he has the submission threat to finish off a Bonfim. So I'm going Bonfim, high confidence. I think he's winning the fight here. He's going to take out Trevin Giles. Those are 3 of my most confident picks on the card, and I want to jump into the favorite underdog section, obviously aside from the lock of the week. That is a dog this week, but there's still some other underdogs that I think have chances here. I'll bring them both up on the screen. We got Derek Lewis, Michael Chiesa, plus 195 for D-Lew to plus 125 for Chiesa. I'll tell you this much. I feel as though I prefer the Derek Lewis side a little bit over Chiesa for a couple of reasons. I'll talk about both of them individually, and we'll first start with Derek Lewis. A little clip from his media day interview dropped, and he talked about he's already on weight for the fight at heavyweight, which is good to note because he talked about normally cutting 25 pounds 3 days prior. Well, that should help his performance a bit. And I think De Lima is being highly overrated. People talking about how he's going to be able to submit Derek Lewis and yada yada and whatnot. He does have nasty low kicks and a competent Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game. But ultimately, the side of Marcos Rogério de Lima, though dangerous, is not a top-tier guy at heavyweight, and only losses for Lewis lately have been top tier. Sergey Spivak, Sergey Pavlovich, Tai Tuivasa. He has a win over Chris Dawkins in between that. And then he also has a loss to Cyril Gane, who is a top contender. So 4 of the top tier guys in the weight class. Tai Tuivasa, probably the worst of the bunch, and that was the closest fight. And now I have Marcos Rogerio de Lima on the opposite side, who I think has a good chin, but don't tell me Derek Lewis can't knock out anyone if he lands a clean punch with a 4-ounce glove on, because he definitely can. And I think he's going to win by knockout here. I'm going plus 195. That's the Lewis money line. But if you did like Derek Lewis to win by knockout, you get a little bit more juice at plus 215. He probably wins by a knockout, but plus 205 now. It's expanded a bit. I see it here. So it's ranging plus 195, plus 205. I'll tell you this much. You are better off going with the money line, because on the off chance De Lima survives and Derek Lewis pulls it on the scorecard somehow. Now, I don't think that's super likely, but if the money line and the knockout prop are pretty damn close to one another, I just prefer the straight money line side. Derek Lewis for the win. And then we look to Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland. Not the same level of enthusiasm, I'll say, for a Michael Chiesa as a Derek Lewis, and I'll tell you why, is because the finishing capability of Derek Lewis having one-shot knockout power, as opposed to Michael Chiesa, who's facing an opposition, being Kevin Holland, who has the punching power advantage and can hurt him with a big punch. Now, ultimately, Chiesa's not been knocked out. He's known for pretty good durability. He has 1 KO TKO, and it was a doctor's cut stoppage against Joe Lozon years ago. So it is not that Michael Chiesa is ever shown to be a chinny fighter. He is known for a strong grappling base, dominated RDA on the ground. Now, ultimately, Kevin Holland is like, not really a foot taller than RDA, but like a lot taller than Dos Anjos and a lot longer. And he does have a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but Kevin Holland is a notably weak wrestler. And if Chiesa is able to consistently get to top position and control, I can definitely see him grinding out a win, a little bit John Fitch style. Plus 125 for Chiesa. I do think he probably pulls this one out in a competitive 3 rounds. I feel like the chance of knockout, though being there, I'll say this much. Kevin Holland is fighting someone that hasn't been chinned before. Kevin Holland is a Kevin Holland 170, right? It's not Kevin Holland at 85, so the takedown resistance, I don't know if it's as good. I'm thinking Chiesa can edge it on the cards, plus 165 for that over 2.5. But ultimately, picking between Chiesa and Lewis, I do feel more confidence on Derek Lewis. But Chiesa, dog pick, and I had to drop him in here with the favorite underdog section. I want to jump into the next section, though, which is going to be the props/value bets. Okay, we have 2 of them that interest me a lot here. Number 1 that I will bring up is a more universal prop. It is over 1.5 at minus 130 for Roman Kopylov versus Claudio Ribeiro. I believe that this matchup here is probably live to go into the later stages. I do think Kopylov does win the fight, but Ribeiro, not an easy guy to put away, and the same can be said about Kopylov. I think over 1.5 is pretty live here at minus 130 between these 2 middleweights. Now, the next one is a pure prop bet rather than just an over. It is CJ Vergara, who I am picking to win, and I do think he beats Vincius Salvador, who I'm not overly impressed by, to win by decision, plus 275 for a Vergara decision win. I think that's fairly live, just worth mentioning at least. But then when you look at Vergara by sub at plus 900, it's like, damn, putting a little juice on that would hit heavy. KO plus 200. I mean, it's definitely possible, but Salvador will have a pure punching power advantage, but he's just not as crisp and technical. Vergara is better with straight shots. Salvador gets a little frustrated as well, and I don't think he has the gas tank of Vergara. So ultimately, I'll add in as a value money line. I don't think Vergara is bad. I think he's got a real shot to beat Vincius Salvador. Salvador with the puncher's chance, but at flyweight, I don't like the puncher's chance nearly as much as I would up weight classes, like a middleweight, light heavyweight, or heavyweight. So CJ Vergara to pull it off. I do want to jump into the parlay section. So make sure you guys smash the likes if you haven't. And it seems like the first parlay on the screen is going to be the absolute chaos parlay. It's over 1.5 for the Kopylov versus Ribeiro fight. And then it's Alex Pereira, Matt Semmelsberger, Gabriel Bonfim, Bobby Green, and Derek Lewis on your slate for nearly plus 2,500. Pretty damn large there. But hey, I had to bring that one up first. Honestly, is because I left it open in the tab. I was gonna bring it up last, but you know what? It's better that I brought it up first. I think it's better that way. It's good to go up first. Now, I'm gonna throw a safety parlay at you guys here. I'm gonna have a couple of them actually. We'll go with the likes of Bobby Green, and we're gonna mix that with my guy on the prelims, Mr. Semmelsberger, who we gotta find here. There he is. Nearly a minus 110, minus 108. Bobby Green and Semmelsberger bring you to almost even money, and I got a real good feeling both of them are winners on Saturday. Now, maybe you wanted to remove the likes of Bobby Green. You're a big Tony Ferguson fan, and you think he's got a shot, though I overall do not. You could go Bonfim on your slate then, minus 105. And then the trifecta of them all three brings you in the plus 150 range with Semmelsberger, Bonfim, and Bobby Green. That's something that interests me a lot. I think that's a pretty solid play to get you in the plus money category. Now, I want to do an alternate parlay that does not contain those same guys. I want to create one that is on the total opposite side, right? So we'll go Jake Matthews and the over 1.5 in the Kopylov fight. You get nearly plus 150 for that one there. I think that is a decent idea to mix some things up and bring yourself, I guess a little security of a nice plus 150, aside from your base parlay. I like having the two of them. I think that's pretty exciting. Now, if you want to get a little bit crazier, I do kind of want to bring the heat with the next one here. We'll add back with the over 1.5 in the Kopylov fight. Then I'm also going to put a high confidence pick, Matt Semmelsberger, with that as well. Plus 163. Awesome play right there too. And still, I think, somewhat on the safer side. And to add more steam to it, now you're looking to get into value territory. The likes of Poatan Pereira, who's a slight dog, bring you around plus 430. I think that is actually quite a solid play as well. I don't know. I like Pereira, Semmelsberger, and the over in the Kopylov fight at plus 430. That's pretty good money, man. I like that one a ton, actually. Now, if you want to add more steam, I'm going to add back the high confidence picks. I'm going to put Bonfim back on, and I'm also going to add back Bobby Green. And this is going to be more of your long shot. This is going to be something that you're, chasing some more plus money with, as opposed to 2 or 3 fighters is by far safer. This is when you get into high-risk territory, but ultimately not impossible that a plus 789 tag like this actually cashes. Now, to add more steam to it, this was actually the final one. Derek Lewis at plus 2,479. And I guess I might as well add a little more chaos because I had Matthews in something earlier. This is a pure on the show. Everything else was written down beforehand. This one here popping in live at plus 3,554. If all of these savages came through, this is something you go light with. A few dollars on it. I mean, shit, I guess for some of you, maybe you're fucking going crazy after it and you think this is the magical call. Bet responsibly. Ultimately, this is just my opinion on what I think is going to happen on Saturday and my thoughts on it. But yeah, do your own homework. I like to tell the people in the lives especially, don't blindly tell. Dig in a little bit yourself. See if what you see aligns with what I see. And I think that is your, best recipe for success in betting on the fight game. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's Best MMA Bets. I had a blast talking about it with you all. I appreciate everybody for the continued support. I'll be live for the entire card on Saturday, looking to continue the lock streak. Hit with a bit of a favorite, Nathaniel Wood, last week, and I'm feeling the close money underdog, Alex Pereira, a lot here this week, and I'm really excited to hit it on Saturday. So be live with me. Fight Companion going down as soon as the card starts. I think it's 6:30 p.m. Eastern time now I'm hearing, but it might be 7. Overall, though, I'll be live for the entire card. Keep it locked in on the channel. If you're new, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on. Put them on all so you don't miss a video. Definitely let me know your lock of the week in the comments. Do you like mine? throw a W in those comments if you got nothing to say, but you just enjoy the content and want to boost the algorithm for your boy. Keep your eyes peeled all week long. Content dropping every single day. Much love, you guys. When some big news drops and fights are announced, I'll be dropping news videos too. So eyes on the channel at all times because content's coming with, a heavy influx. Much love. Thank you all. And I'll see everybody in the next one. Peace, guys.